Now that it's 2025, it's time to leave all that lust and all that corn in the past. Here's 5 ways on how to defeat lust, and don't worry, this isn't going to be some basic advice that I just repurposed from Google about 10 minutes ago. This is how I personally overcame lust, cause we all been the horny young dude, just in high school, just thinking about sex all the time, watching corn, jerking off, etc. Like, this is something that we've all struggled with, especially as guys. Like, we know exactly how hard the fight is. Maybe you're still in the middle of that fight right now. The first thing I did, and probably the most impactful, is either A, having a deeper purpose, or either B, something you really love or something you really care about that you can actively work towards every single day. And you might wonder, okay, exactly what is having a deeper purpose and why is that impactful? Because a lot of people talk about purpose in this kind of vague, obscure way all the time. And basically having a purpose is having resolve towards something that's meaningful or something beyond yourself that kind of drives your actions on a daily basis and gives you direction in life. And if not that, then just have something that you care about a lot. Whether it's a passion, an ambition, a goal, or even a responsibility. Just something that you can work towards or get 1% better at every single day. And the reason why this is so impactful, or at least for me, for overcoming lust, is because that purpose, that drive, that thing you care about, it's always going to mean more to you than jerking off, chasing some girl, chasing sex all the time. It's what you're always going to go back to. It's kind of like this, where you're on your road or you're on your journey, and then lust kind of tries to get you off your path, and then you're always going to look towards your purpose, and it's going to help you recenter your focus and get back on track. And if you don't really have a purpose or reason or something you care about, you're going to be bored a lot of the times. And idle time is the devil's favorite playground. Your mind is going to wander and you're going to fall to lust. Like, having that deeper purpose, that deeper reason, that resolve, it's always going to supersede your lust. And then once you have that, it no longer becomes a struggle. Like, it genuinely does not feel hard. No pun intended. Because your desire to jerk off, watch porn, chase sex, chase hookups, etc., that's naturally going to diminish when you have a purpose or something you truly love or care about. And if you really think about it, you're probably the most lustful, or when you watch porn the most is probably when you're bored or have nothing else to do. And just being able to have a purpose is going to be the answer to that. Like, nowadays, I hardly ever think about sex. The amount in which I thought about sex probably diminished like 85% when I envisioned what I want my life to look like. I mean, before, luckily, I had a girlfriend in high school and college, but you're still thinking about sex a lot. But now it hardly ever crosses my mind. Like, I genuinely do not care. Like, I'm uninterested, if you will. And you kind of get to this point where you're no longer triggered by every little thirst trap, or, porn will just become genuinely uninteresting to you. Like, before, if I had a homie that was talking about linking up with a girl, that made me want to go link up with a girl. Actually, that's how I got on dating apps in the first place. But now it's kind of like I'm good off that. Like, I don't even chase it. Obviously, you're gonna get horny every now and then, it's just biology. But you're not going to be a lustful person anymore. And some of you might think, well, you've spoken about your hookup experiences and going on dates, etc. And that's true, but the difference is I'm not a lustful person. If I go on a date and there's nothing at the end of it, I genuinely do not care. Like, it's not a struggle because I'm not a lustful guy. I'm not thinking about getting laid all the time. I can go from, let's say, once a week to absolutely nothing for months or even a year, and I'm completely fine. And that's because I found my purpose, which is having impact and trying to be the best version of myself. The second thing I did to defeat lust is visualization. And not just visualizing anything. I try to visualize, and this is kind of corny, take it for what you will, but I try to visualize the woman that I want to be with in the future. And let me explain what I mean. I have a pretty clear idea of what she looks like, her demeanor, the way she acts, her energy, being with her, etc. And the reason why I did this, the reason why I gave her an image as opposed to just saying I want a wife and have kids one day, because let's say, for example, let's say you're young and horny and you're in school, you're in college, and it's late at night and the hub is calling you, and you just want to hop on it and jerk off, right? And you're tempted to give into your lust, but I would think about this woman, this girl that I would want to be with, the future mother of my kids, and what it would take to be with her. Would she want a guy that would just give into his lust? Just jerking off the pixels every night watching porn? The answer is no. Like, if I want to be with this girl that I visualize, right? This girl that I made the image of victory out to be, I also have to constantly work towards being the guy that's worthy of her. Even though she doesn't exist in my life at the moment. It's like this, I'm sure a lot of you guys want a girl in the future, want to have kids. So a lot of what you do, even though you're not thinking about it, is for your future family and kids, even though they don't exist right now. That's why we'll all die chasing success. And if that's something you want in the future, then they're a major reason of everything you're doing right now. And if that's the case, then the best thing to do is to visualize what that actually looks like. It's just something that we don't ever think about because they don't currently exist in our life. And that's essentially why I'll visualize all these things. Like, to give it an actual image actually helps so much. And in my case, it was visualizing the woman that I want to be with, like what she actually looks like. The third thing you need to do is eliminating your triggers and controlling your environment, which is kind of two things, but whatever. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Like, I'm sure you heard of that quote. Whatever you think, if you set yourself up for failure regardless of your mindset, you're going to fail. For example, a trigger for you could be, and most likely is, social media. If your Instagram is full of ass and girls thirst trapping, or your Twitter or TikTok, that's what your algorithm floods you with because that's what you've been watching. I mean, your YouTube shouldn't be filled with ass, otherwise you might have a serious problem. But if your trigger is scrolling social media and seeing some ass or girls thirst trapping, and all of a sudden you find yourself jerking off, I mean, I shouldn't have to say it, but eliminate those triggers, even if it means deleting those apps off your phone. Like, don't just think to yourself, and this is a mistake that I imagine a lot of guys make. You think that, oh, I'm aware of it, so it's okay if I scroll IG because I'm not gonna jerk off this time. You're gonna fail every time because old habits die hard. You can't break a habit just by trying to think your way out of it. Like, you have to set up systems and an environment for you to win. You gotta eliminate your triggers and control your environment. If your trigger is going on your phone before you sleep at night, maybe don't sleep with your phone next to you. Maybe just set the alarm and put your phone on your table so you can't just roll over after getting in bed and then go on your phone. Like, you gotta try to analyze when you're lustful because it's most likely the same triggers over and over again. Probably at the same time of the day, try to throw a wrench in what you do or do something different. You tend to repeat the same actions like clockwork because that's how you've conditioned yourself. The fourth thing you gotta do is understand that a lot of your lust probably comes from a lack of intimacy. I'm not gonna lie, there've been times where I thought I was horny and I'd fire up the dating apps, try to hit up a girl that I linked maybe 2-3 weeks ago, try to double back, triple back, and then I'll realize, oh, I'm actually not even that horny right now. I'm just missing intimacy in my life. And this applies to guys and girls, and there comes a point in time where, or at least for me, you realize that satisfying that lust doesn't do anything. Oftentimes leaves you feeling more depressed and empty afterwards. Like, even after chasing hookups, after you get past the physical intimacy, when you get that post-nut clarity, it's sometimes not that different than after you jerk off. And girls will never tell you, but they get a lot of buyer's remorse from those one-night stands. Like, a lot of them feel gross afterwards. And it kind of puts you in a state of existential dread. On top of that, sex probably wasn't that great because you don't really have chemistry with the person. The next time you jerk off, really sit in how you feel and the thoughts that come to you afterwards. And then try to engrave that moment and that feeling so the next time you feel that lust, you're going to remember how you feel afterwards. And the last thing you gotta do is realize that you're going to fail. Because we all fail. No one is perfect 100% of the time. Because all it takes is a moment of weakness for lust to get you. And I know what you're thinking, bro, that kind of just throws out everything you just said. And no, it doesn't, because like most things in life, the point is the intention. Because for you to be aware of your lust and constantly fight against it means that you're no longer a lustful person. A lustful person is someone that constantly gives in to his lust. Like, every time they're feeling horny, they just seek to satisfy that lust. And that doesn't mean that there isn't ever going to be a time where lust doesn't get the best of you. And it's important to acknowledge that because it's easy to put a tremendous amount of pressure on yourself and think that you can do anything. And trust me, I'm on the side of the hyper-individualistic, self-belief, etc, etc. It's just the point is, don't beat yourself up over losing a battle to lust or messing up or folding. Don't think that you're a loser or the worst person ever or you're never going to succeed, etc. Just try to get back on it and remember those 4 things. The fact is, you're always going to be horny, but you got to constantly fight that lust and not give into it. Because what's better, a guy that just jerks off and chases sex and thinks about sex all the time, just mindlessly filled with lust? Or being the guy that maybe folds or loses a battle once in a while, but is constantly fighting and trying to defeat his lust? Whose quality of life do you think is better? Who do you think that God is going to be more pleased with? And also just try to understand that anything you want in life is on the other side of delayed gratification. Like, you hear it all the time, dopamine detox, fight against instant gratification, but it's true. Instant gratification usually has long-term repercussions, and vice versa. I took a poll at first and I'm actually really surprised. Like, 25% of you guys said you don't jerk off at all. And 50% of you guys said about 1 to 5 times a week, which is actually a lot better than I thought. So yeah, shout out to you guys that are winning the battle. It's 2025 and we're leaving that lust in the past. Anyways, thank you for listening. I love you. I appreciate you. Make sure you stay true. And that said, I'll talk to you real soon. Peace.